little history. I was born and raised here. I love this state. It seems right here. The trees are the right height. I like seeing the lakes. I love the lakes. There's something very special here. The Great Lakes, but also all the little inland lakes that dot the parts of Michigan. I love cars. I don't know. I mean, I grew up totally in love with cars.
What's the guy on Frisky Juice or what's going on there? Anyway, sometimes Mitt Romney attempts to relate to an audience. They can be quite painful, those kinds of performances, like when he talks about the trees there being the right height in Michigan. He seems to have an authenticity gap, a lot of people believe. Well, last month, New York Magazine asked James Lipton, the great host of Inside the Actors Studio on Bravo, to assess the candidate's problem. Let's watch him in action.
Since you've been criticized by some for not coming across as authentic to your public, maybe we can sort of work on that today. Let's start with your laugh.
You know, I live for laughter. I mean,
it isn't working. It's inert. It just doesn't come across as genuine.
Well, there's a lot about Mitt Romney that doesn't come across as genuine, of course. But here's James Lipton. He's wonderful to join us in this interleague play here from Bravo over to MSNBC, as they're doing in baseball this week. Let me ask you, James, about the smile. You have some interesting sort of dissection you can share with us.
Well, the point is that if you watch him on television and you freeze the frame and then you put your hand over the lower part of his face and just look at his eyes, you'll discover something amazing, which is that while he expects us to be amused, he isn't the least bit amused himself. Those eyes are not, there's no pleasure there, there's no amusement. He's working. He's too busy working to be amused. And the result is that the laughter comes across as what you heard, a kind of ha-ha-ha, the kind of thing you see in comic strips and balloons.
Right.
Where it's that's what comes across. It isn't. He's not really laughing. You know, people think that crying is the hardest thing that an actor can do. That's not true. The most difficult thing for an actor is to laugh, and he has not mastered it. And if you haven't mastered it, stay away from it.
Well, what's he trying to do? I mean, what is he trying to play remember the old Nelson Rockefeller? We loved him because even though he was loaded with tons of money, he seemed to have a way to connect with people. It's how you felt, what's happening, and he connected naturally with people like Jack Kennedy could. This guy seems to be pretending to be some regular, hail fellow, well-met type who really likes hanging out with regular people, and he clearly would prefer not to be there, it seems.
He's very self-conscious and very uncomfortable with them. He won't even eat their poor little cupcakes. Well, that's true. Remember what he said when he was in the debates, and he said, I can't have these illegal immigrants on my lawn. I'm running for office, for Pete's sake. Well, what is he saying to us? He's saying that there are two Mitt Romneys. There's one who apparently wouldn't mind a few illegals on his lawn if he weren't running for office, and there's the other who is very troubled by it because he's presenting himself as a persona as in dramatis personae. You know, he's acting, he's performing, he's showing us somebody whom he is not, and unfortunately, I'm not talking about his politics, but he doesn't play that part very well.
Well, let's take a look at this. His struggle to relate to everyday people can be painful, as you noted, and I agree. Like when he joked about being unemployed with a group of people who are actually out of work. Let's watch.
Well, I think I should also tell my story. I'm also unemployed.
Are you on LinkedIn?
Yes, actually. And I'm networking. How's it been, Michael?
A lot better than what we've done.
Well, back in 2008, not 100 years ago, he tried to relate to a group of teenagers. How did he do it? By singing the lyrics to what he thought was a very hip song, Who Let the Dogs Out, which is apparently quite a bit old by then, that song. Well, let's watch.
Who let the dogs out? Who?
You know, I'm struck by the times when he seems like one of those guys in a war movie from the Second World War who's a spy, who occasionally, whether the Americans and the Germans or the Germans playing Americans, where they let something slip. You know, they let their real way of talking. When he'll say things like, oh, I read that New York Times piece on the aircraft.
That's right.
Or you know, I don't know anybody talks like that. It's Conehead talking. It's not Earthling.
I'm a pilot. I'm up there in front usually flying I fly as an airplane. But I guess people who own airplanes, it's an aircraft. I don't know. Look, he has said over and over again, there's nothing wrong with being rich. Let's give him that. Let's stipulate, as the lawyers like to say, that there's nothing wrong with being rich. But there is something wrong with pretending that somehow that you are not, or that you are a man of the people when manifestly you're not. I worked with Ronald Reagan for a while, and he wasn't any more a common man than Romney is. But he never pretended to be anything other than what he was. What you saw is what you got. What you got is what you saw. And as a result, there was a nice word made for him, Reagan-esque. Romney-esque.
I think Reagan knew he was lucky.
Sure,
he was a regular guy who had made it. He knew the difference.
Exactly. Look, FDR was called what? A traitor to his class. He was very rich, but did he relate? He certainly did. It reverberates to this day, and some of what he left as his legacy is still being attacked and rolled back.
Let's talk about the president now, to be somewhat fair here. The president, I've been with him and you've been with him. I mean, I'm always impressed by his absolute cool. I mean, his somewhat detached. I wouldn't say the warmest person in the world, but very detached and very cool and confident that he's who he is. That's what I think.
Yes. Look, let's go back a year to the white heat of the White House press conference. The press, what is it called? It's the big gala evening.
Sure, the correspondence dinner.
The correspondence dinner, that's it. Now, that's a tough audience, and it's a tough venue. A year ago, he killed, as we say in show business, he killed that audience. He did a great job with them. At the same time, he was the only person in that room that he was killing Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
Now that is cool. That is really, really cool.
Yeah.
And remember,
in a cinematic way, it's like Robert De Niro in that Chicago movie. I'm not going to go into the details, but it's the same kind of thing. The Untouchables, where he acts, there's somebody getting killed, Jimmy the Cock, played by Sean Connery. At the same time, he's watching an opera and crying about the clown, Pagliacci.
Precisely. The thing is that what he's got to learn to do somehow is to stop trying to pretend what he is, what he's not. He can't do it. He doesn't have those skills. That's okay. He's not required to have them. But I think he should go with what he's got and hope for the best.
Well, you might be telling him to walk the plank by telling him to be himself anyway, but thank you for the good effort. We always like to say, let Romney be Romney. Well, you've just said it. Maybe he will, but I don't think so.
For better or for worse, let Romney be Romney. He has, look, it isn't that it's his best option. As I say in my article in NewYorkMagazine.com, it's his only option. He's not a good actor. Reagan was a very good actor.
Okay. James Lipton, the best in the world. Thank you so much. Host of Inside the Actors Studio.